Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Laps Down. My name is Andrea.
And I'm MJ.
And we are so excited to be here for another episode. Before we get too far into it, be sure to rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, if you haven't already, or if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe. We got some good stuff cooking up for YouTube. How do you feel, MJ, about our futures as TikTokers coming to an end? There was something so fun about being like, I'm a TikToker. I'm like Charlie D'Amelio. I'm like that, but like with cars. It's kind of cool.
Charlie D'Amelio with cars.
That's exactly what I did, right? That's how you would classify my content, probably?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
The amount of dancing trends you did.
All of them.
Revolutionary. Yeah, TikTok's actually dying soon, likely, in the United States. So just a moment to plug our TikTok. Follow us at Laps Down Pod on Instagram.
Yeah, better on Instagram. I mean, you could follow us on TikTok, but that'd be like kind of a waste.
Sure.
Yeah.
We have the same username across all platforms. So go find us on the ones that aren't getting banned in the United States, preferably.
So true. Us having the same username across all platforms is thanks to your marketing genius. And to start off today, we're going to talk a little bit about some marketing genius that has occurred this week. We'll start with a little bit of like a news story that maybe got buried to the what do we call it? I'm mad about it. That's how we're gonna. Yeah, I'm mad about it. I'm mad it got buried. Catherine Legg had a new podcast start this week. She talked about racing in the Chili Bowl. She was talking to the owner of the team that she's going to be racing with. But more exciting to me is that it also meant she showed who her sponsors are going to be for the Chili Bowl. And one of them was her own podcast, but also Elf. And I realized we never talked in our marketing episode, but we really wanted to, about brands that are appealing more to the women who are starting to tune into motorsports. I would say sometimes it feels like more than men. Like I sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, shit, there's dudes here too. What's up? But I think it's really cool that Elf is sponsoring her, but it's also like cool that she has her own podcast now. What are your thoughts, MJ? Marketing genius.
I'm very excited that Elf is sticking with Catherine, because I think they kind of go hand in hand now to like the motorsport community. I do kind of wonder if they are sticking with her if she doesn't happen to do IndyCar. I wonder if they're going to come back to IndyCar. She'll probably have an entry, I bet, in the 500. So I bet they'd be there. Ask,
do you think that this means that do you think she's still in contention to be like going for it with the 500 still? Like, do you think that she'll be like somebody that just shows up to do the 500?
I think it's more likely that she would just show up to do the 500 versus having like a more permanent seat with like Dale Coyne. I don't know. They could be going in that direction. We probably won't know until like tires hit the ground.
Yeah.
In St. Pete.
Catherine's in that car. Cool.
Oh, look, she's over there. No, but I think it's really exciting that, especially because I feel like the Chili Bowl probably doesn't have a whole lot of sponsors similar to Elf.
Yeah, so I don't know if Elf has ever dipped into the Chili Bowl before.
No, but I think it's a great move.
It was also an interesting, not that I'm promoting her podcast while we are also doing a podcast. You should listen to this episode before you listen to her episode. Okay. You guys know the drill when I talk about other people's podcasts. But it was interesting because she really has kind of no idea what she's doing with Peace and Love. And so like the episode is her just talking about like what are her challenges going to be going into the Chili Bowl, what to expect from like that type of racing. And like it was with the person who is running her car and has a lot of experience. And also it was interesting. He has had several women drive for him in the Chili Bowl. And so he was talking about too, like the differences of like as a team owner of like having a woman drive versus like a man. And it was just interesting, like how he talked about like the feedback they give on the car and stuff. So it was a pretty interesting episode. You should definitely check it out if you are a Catherine Legg fan. Another marketing story, one that we were just talking about like today, because it kind of just became a story like a couple hours before we started filming, is the Joseph Newgarden IndyCar commercial. Yes. I have to say that is cinema. It is so good.
It was really good. So it was Fox on IndyCar. Like that's the account that put it up, which is really exciting because bless NBC, but they really never said jack about IndyCar. So this is like, we're already in a good direction. And there was a football player in it, famous one.
Yeah, which one was that? The one that is good that people like. Is he
was
the
in
one
it?
that was divorced? Is he the one that divorced Giselle? The model, the Victoria's Secret model. Yeah,
I think you're right. He played for.
Yeah, I'm a fan
the
of
Buccaneers.
Hers. Yeah,
yes,
that
we love
one.
her.
Whatever. Yeah, Tom.
I'm sorry.
Maybe or something is his name. Thomas.
Oh, Tom Brady. That's embarrassing.
Thomas Brandy or something like that. I don't know.
Brandy. But he was in it. He made a cameo. It was a cinematic situation. Alex Palou made a cameo.
Yeah. They were building like literally the character of Joseph Newgarden, which is like, it's so good. They literally were like, this is basically Homelander. Like they were like, this is this guy. He's like really good at racing. He's also kind of like an American Psycho villain-esque type character.
Yep.
And it's amazing because Joseph Newgarden doesn't give a shit that is his, like, he's like, okay, I'll turn heel. Like, he's like, that's what I do now. I'll be the American Psycho villain for IndyCar. And it was like a perfect commercial. 10 out of 10 no notes.
It was really, really good.
Beautiful.
Rumor has it that they do have a couple more of these coming out. I believe they filmed with Alex Palou, as we saw, obviously, because he was in it. Yeah, that's
interesting because like he'll be like introduced as a character in Joseph Newgarden's commercial.
It's like a universe. We're creating like an IndyCar cinematic universe, which I'm so excited about. I'm very interested to see how they paint Alex Palou because he's just like Alex Palou is such like just a guy energy who just happens to have a bunch of championships.
Yeah, I think they're gonna like paint him as like a. If I could guess, I think it's gonna be like European sweetheart, like hero of the story. But then it's like he has 4 championships. Can he still be the hero? I guess he could be the hero, but not the underdog.
True, hero, but not the underdog. Important distinction.
Yeah.
But then they've also got who maybe you could consider the underdog. So you have the villain, the hero, and the underdog. I believe Pato Award also has one in the making.
But also, they're gonna make Pato like he's the funny hot one.
I think all they have to do is add that clip in of Joseph Newgarden overtaking him in the Indy 500, and all of a sudden we're like, first of all, we hate Joseph Newgarden. Second of all, could not want anything better for Pato.
Yeah, it'll definitely have the clip of him like crying at the end, and they'll be like, "See, he cries." You guys like a man who cries?
You guys are gonna love that.
I think they're gonna do the Pato one like for the girls.
Sure. I feel like I gotta be honest. I think they're doing a pretty good job of like gender neutral marketing because I didn't feel like that was super like male gazy. Like, yeah, race car crash. There were moments of race car crash, but I do think like he did his cute little like cologne, like the ethanol cologne thing, and I was like, okay, so they're kind of like trying to meet in the middle, like a broader audience, which is just so exciting to see them do something good like, with marketing.
Yeah, but then like the whole like he's a winner. I feel like then like having like the Tom Brady like cameo of like men being like, oh fuck, like Tom Brady, he knows Tom Brady. I love Tom Brady. Also, they did like something really weird about like the jaw. Like, isn't that why he was in there? Like they were talking about like a jawline. Like, and then Tom Brady's like he's not that handsome. Like, oh, Tom Brady thinks he's hot. Like, I think that's a male thing. I think they think that's funny.
Yeah, the jawline thing, that's obviously like a male thing. Like that's for the male gaze. The bros love a jawline, but I don't know. I mean, overall, thrilled.
Yeah, I genuinely was like, this is probably some of the best IndyCar marketing I've ever seen.
Ever. Yeah.
Ever. So sick. So if you haven't checked that out, be sure to check that out on social media. It's actually a really great, like, 1-minute watch. So that is it for our little marketing stories. Kind of on a similar vein, and also in IndyCar news, we have the Prema launch this week. How are we supposed to pronounce it? Will Buxton was really on us about this. He was hosting the Prema launch, and he was like, you're supposed to say it with an Italian accent. And I was like, oh,
it's
get
not
fucked.
Prima. It's not Prema. It's... Prema. I can't say it.
Prema. It's like those Italian Americans who are like, okay, today I'm going to be making lasagna. First you have to get out the ricotta cheese. Like, that was the energy he had. Like, he would just hit, like, an accent in, like, the weirdest places. And he was, like, really doing this whole, like, it's about Italian history. I was like, okay. Oh, my God. Like, do your little Fonza Ferrari shit somewhere else. Okay? We're not doing it here.
I think it was kind of an odd... No, I don't think it was an odd choice. I think it made sense for Prema to have Will Buxton doing it. But, like, I just imagine the vibes would have been more, like, meeting us on our level as an American racing series if it was, like, James Hinchcliffe or, like, another American commentator. But he really continued to double down on, like...
This is a European
Italy,
team with the European history. And then Mark Miles says that Prema's going to bring some European class to IndyCar. That's what we were missing this whole time, MJ. We didn't have the same kind of class.
Oh my God. It was the European class that we were missing. It wasn't the marketing or the fact that we're not putting any money back into the sport or the fact that we can't get any sponsors for the cars. It's the fact that there's not enough European class. I don't know why. I don't know why it rubbed me so wrong. But the whole like presentation, I was like, why are you talking down to us? We are your target market.
They were literally talking down to us. They were on a stage that was actually kind of like a balcony. It was like a Romeo and Juliet balcony situation where like the camera for the live stream was below Will Buxton and he was looking down on us physically, being like,
it was weird.
You guys don't have enough class to pronounce Prema properly.
Dude, and he's saying this while standing in North Carolina. Like, they're in North Carolina. I'm pretty sure they shut down the entire state because it was, like, snowing that day, too.
Yeah, they said 2 inches like, oh, we're all stuck. Like, Will Buxton was like, all my flights have already been canceled, so I'm stuck here for the night. Like, I hope you guys... I was like, oh, boo, you're stuck in North Carolina. Oh, you're so scared, buddy. Be careful out there. Like, be serious. I don't even dislike Will Buxton. Just in that live stream, I was, like, growing one. It was very unlikable in it. So what are we going to do about the rumors that he's going to be an announcer for IndyCar? Because after that actually solidified for me that's a horrible idea. There was something about seeing him talk about IndyCar. I was like, he's not good for this job. So
he, I believe, has done IndyCar commentary before.
Okay, well, I wasn't there and I wouldn't have liked it.
I think it'll be fine when he's, like, with, like, someone else. Like, I think on his own, I would be like, what am I listening to? Like, I'm just listening to, like, F1. Yeah, but I think, truthfully, you put him with James Hinchcliffe and I'm sold. I'm like, hell yeah.
If he's in place of James Hinchcliffe, like, I think it'll be a trade. It'll be James goes to F1 TV and Will Buxton goes to IndyCar because James was doing an interview on another podcast that I'm definitely not going to name. And, long story. And he basically said that he was hired by F1 TV as like their North American voice or whatever. And they're making it sound like they want more American people on F1 TV. Right now, he is I want to say he's the only person on that F1 TV team that is American.
Yeah, I think so.
And most of the F1 TV market is probably Americans because like the British audience just watches Sky Sports and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think that they might be very interested in keeping James.
Yeah, but have they considered that I'm not into that?
Yeah, they haven't considered that you don't want them to.
They don't want. I truly believe. I think it's going to be Townsend Bell, Will Buxton, and our man James. I think that's who it's going to be. But everyone, if you're putting in your predictions, you're totally free to use mine because I do believe that's going to be the correct answer.
Okay. I actually am going to predict that it's going to be James Hinchcliffe goes to F1 TV full time.
Okay, no.
Well, not like full time. Like I think that they do like rotations, like where they do like most of the season, but they definitely have weekends off because obviously that would be. I love how I'm like obviously that'd be crazy for them to go to every race, but then it's like all the drivers and mechanics and team principals go to every race.
To go every race.
But I was like, that would be crazy to make him travel around the world every freaking weekend. But one last IndyCar news. I also heard on James Hinchcliffe's podcast that there is, I believe, Meyershank Racing, an interest in doing fly-in pit stop crews. And this was like a long conversation they had. essentially kind of like what NASCAR does, where you have athletes, former college athletes, former pro athletes. They come in on race weekend and they are only there to do pit stops. Currently, the way a lot of IndyCar teams run, I think potentially all of them, obviously I don't know. I don't work there. And they were talking about how a lot of times it's like mechanics for the cars are also doing pit stops. And so these people are working very long days doing both fixing the car. Like if there's a crash or something, they could be up all night fixing the car and then the next day being required to do the pit stops. Apparently these people enjoy doing this. Me and MJ were like, I wouldn't enjoy doing a second job.
That's just another job.
Yeah, I would rather just be a mechanic. But apparently the people that are mechanics enjoy doing the pit stops. So they think that this could potentially be an issue for Meyer Shank in morale within their team for people that are no longer going to be doing the pit stops. But they will then have a pit crew full of athletic people, great under pressure because they're like ex-athletes who have played in big championship games. They're going to be very clear-minded, having not stayed up all night working on the car. And they're also like, they might just have a giant advantage now on pit road over other teams. I did not know that this is how IndyCar pit stops have worked previously. I guess I just never thought about it. But yeah, the NASCAR system makes a lot of sense to me. You know, like the types of people that you would want to be on a pit crew being ex-athletes and stuff like that. That makes a lot of sense to me. It's interesting that this could be like a big culture shift within IndyCar. If it does work out well, other teams are going to be interested in doing it. What do you think?
I think it's a great idea. You're obviously going to have that kind of possible dip in morale, especially if you're taking away the thing that the mechanics enjoy doing. But I don't see a world where it wouldn't be worth it, you know? But also on that same, like in that same vein, it's like, that's a lot of resources. And IndyCar is already having such an issue getting people to go to IndyCar. So if it works out, I think it's going to be worth it in the long haul. And I think it's going to make a shift in IndyCar. However, I think it's going to take a hot minute to get there.
Yeah, and honestly, that is like kind of crazy to think that they're going to be having to hire all these people, train all these people, get them to the point where they are 100% ready to do pit stops by the time the season starts. I know it's possible, but it does seem kind of like a weird thing where they're like probably focusing a lot on that at this point. If that's something they're going to do, they're probably like putting a lot of effort into it right now.
Yeah, I think that's... I'm interested to see how it works. But also, like, NASCAR pit crews are freaking crazy. Like, the facilities they have, it looks like you're walking into, like, a football training facility. Is Meyer Shank going to have those kind of resources? Are they going to have somewhere for them to work? They're all at, like, Planet Fitness, doing, like, the ropes. I'm happy I'm not the one who has to try to figure out how it's going to work, but...
Same. I used to do like volleyball training, and we used to have to do that thing, you know, like those giant tractor tires, tire flips or whatever. And that was always my least favorite workout. I bet they do so many tire flips. I bet these guys that's like half their workout is just tire flips.
Just everything they do actually involves tire. Instead of putting plates on the dumbbells, they put
tires,
plates on the bars. Yeah, they put tires on there. How many
tires can you bench?
Yeah, that's exactly it. How many Firestones you got there?
Yeah. They're like, well, I mean, like, it depends if it's a Pirelli or a Firestone, how many tires, right? But roughly 5. Okay, well, wow. We literally crack ourselves up. We just giggled at our own joke about benching tires, and we're like, okay, moving on. One piece of F1 news we have. There was 2 pieces of F1 news. One of them was that Aston Martin has a new team principal, and I went, I guess I didn't really know that much, but Mike Crack.
They got rid of Mike Crack? Wait, but I actually liked him. Like, his name is kind of funny, but I did like him. Stop laughing.
What's so fucked up is that his parents knew their last name was Crack and still chose to name him Mike. Like, that's so fucked.
Why doesn't he go by Michael? Not that it's an issue. We love his name, bless his heart. But like, that was crazy. Anyways.
Why would his name be Mike? Why couldn't it have been like... Wait, I was just about to say, why couldn't it have been like Justin or something? But that's also funny. No. Justin Crack.
Oh no.
Oh
We're
god,
losing it.
Maybe it's just bad. Should have just done a total last name change. Anyways, he got fired. Rest in peace. I didn't really know that much about him, so I didn't include it because maybe because they suck. I don't know.
They don't suck that bad. James Vowles is still there.
They suck a good amount though. Like, I mean,
that's moderate sucking for sure.
Yeah. Maybe Adrian Newey was like, I'm not fucking with Mike Crack. We got to get him out.
You gotta get rid of Mike Crack.
Maybe he was mean to Lance. And yeah, maybe he was mean and he got fired. Anyways, R.I.P. Mike, love ya. Hope you have a wonderful... Dead. No, I think he's actually just doing something else within Aston Martin as well. I think he's like...
Oh, he just changed...
Yeah, they changed the rules or whatever. I don't fucking know. I don't work at Aston Martin. Who knows what's going on over there? Somebody let me know when Lance is fired, and then I'll start paying attention to Aston Martin more. Our one piece of F1 news that I did feel like including, because I actually gave a shit about it, was Franco being signed as a reserve driver for Alpine. Now, here's my first question, and I don't know if you know the answer. How many reserve drivers is too many reserve drivers? Because they also signed another guy, a guy who is, I think, in endurance racing. And they think that he's going to kind of like be part of the Alpine endurance program and then also serve as like a test reserve driver for Alpine. So they have those two plus Paul Aaron. How many reserve drivers is too many drivers? I mean, it's like you have two. That means if both of your drivers were incapacitated, you could still have enough reserve drivers for both of them. And then you still have an extra one. Like, I just feel like that's far too many. Right?
For the reserve. Yeah. I think it's because they're planning on replacing Jack Doohan. Apparently... the rumor is that he only has 6 races on his contract, and he technically already did 1 race. And I was like, hey guys, back in the old days,
they're counting Abu Dhabi as one of his 6. Oh, I would be so pissed.
Remember, he was signed before then, so his last race is gonna be fucking Miami.
Miami. What's that Will Smith song that they put on all the edits?
Miami.
Yeah. Hey, that's a good name for it. Wow, Jackie, buddy, why'd you sign that? That's insane. Your dad has some clout. You should have really renegotiated that shit. That is insane. Well, okay. I saw that Paul Aaron got signed. Paul Aaron drove under. Love you, buddy. Shout out. I thought he was like kind of like done dirty with the whole F2 politics and everything, and I already felt bad for him. And then he got picked up by Alpine. I was like, wow, Alpine starting to make me like them a little bit. Whoa. And I actually kind of liked Ollie Oakes, the new team principal for Alpine that joined midway through the year. Jack was signed before Ollie Oakes came on. I already was like a little suspicious of that because it's like you have this driver that you didn't pick as team principal, but he's already signed for next year. So it's like, okay, whatever. Ollie Oakes signed Paul Aaron, who drove for him and his company in, like, development. A lot of people were like, oh, this is the Ollie Oakes takeover. Like, he's going to kick Jack Doohan out and put in Paul Aaron because this is his guy. And he would have wanted him over Jack if he would have gotten to sign somebody. I was like, okay, damn, Jack, you're already in bad hot water. But, like, I do like Paul Aaron. And now we have Franco. And so now it's like, I love Franco, would love for him to have a seat, feel bad for Jack, but also feel bad for Paul. I feel like Paul kind of got led on, maybe. Like, he was probably like, wait, I thought I was the backup for when Jack inevitably gets fired. So now I'm like, what was that deal?
Dude, it's such a mess. Also, having to start a season off, like, this is easily worst case scenario for Alpine. Like, you have a driver who like can feel that he's like under your thumb, like everyone's watching him. You're starting off with bad vibes. You're basically sacrificing half of your points for the first 6 races unless he comes out and does something amazing. And then you're going to put Franco in, and I love Franco, but unfortunately his first time driving an F1 car was in Williams. And so half of the races he
DNF'd.
not his fault. Of course, it's James Vowles' fault, as I famously always say. But it feels like such a mess, and it feels like such an unnecessary mess, because it's not like Franco was going anywhere. It's not like anyone else was snatching him up.
I also think, like, Franco had a good shot if he would have stuck around at Williams for another year. That something would have changed in their lineup. And James, like, fucking loves Franco. Did you know James signed off his Instagram post saying goodbye to Franco as T.O. James? Like, insinuating that he is, like him and Franco have, like, this uncle-nephew relationship? That was insane. I said T.O. James, not the T.O. James. But I was like, wait, why would Franco leave an environment at Williams that, like, surprisingly was very supportive of him? he got way better treatment than Logan ever did. You know what I mean? Like, peace and love to Logan Sargent. They gave a better goodbye to Franco than they did Logan. Sorry to bring that up again, MJ. I see, like, the trauma. I saw, like, the trauma flash, like, over your eyes.
Flash across my eyes.
And I was like, oh, no. I feel like if I were him, I would rather stay there, see what happens for another year, especially since how, like, a bunch of other rookies are going to potentially fuck up this year. Like, just see how things fly. Alpine is probably making promises that they're also making to Paul Aaron, that they're also making to other drivers in their development program. They seem like shady little bitches. I'm sorry. Dude. They seem like little snakes. Okay, because they thought, remember, Mick Schumacher thought he was going to get a seat at Alpine over Jack. That didn't happen. They fucked over Oscar Piastri. They pissed off Fernando. They are not, like, good people to work with, it seems. They fucked over Ocon. They had one of the best driver lineups on the grid, in my opinion, with Ocon and Gasly. Like, two pretty good drivers, considering how shit their car was. And they managed to fuck that up. Yeah.
And not to mention the pink camo situation.
Yeah, they promised that to MJ, and then they didn't just, like, deliver.
It's not, like, it's obviously not that big of a deal, but it's just, like, very indicative of, like, everything else they do. Like, that's just how they operate. They're like, oh, yeah, no, this is gonna happen. And we're like, hey, why'd you tell us that was gonna happen? And then you just didn't do it. And they're like, yeah, that was crazy, we did that.
I feel like if I were Franco, I feel like it was a bad career move. I love you, Franco. I'm not your manager. I think it's a bad career move. And people want to fucking argue with me. People have already been arguing with me on social media. Oh, but, like, at least he might get a seat. He might have gotten a seat at somewhere else. You might get a seat a lot of places. Nobody knows. All you're doing is putting yourself in a situation with a work environment that's ass. And a car that's not even good. Like, I could understand being like, I'm going to be a reserve driver for, like, fucking Red Bull or something. And it'd be like, well, that might actually turn out for you. I don't know. You might actually get that seat. But who knows with Alpine? Oh, they just make me mad. Alpine really gets me grumpy. Okay. Last thing. NASCAR rules. Are you ready?
I'm so ready. If I can be honest, NASCAR kind of popped off with these rules. Yeah, I have my little note sheet over here. There were a few rule changes. I only noted the big ones.
Kind of like how I did with, like, F1 news. It's like, just talk about the ones that you give a shit about, MJ.
Just the big ones. Yeah. Just the big ones. I'm trying to think what the most exciting one is. The playoff waiver situation. As we know, they collect playoff points throughout the season that they can then, if they make it into playoffs, transfer over into playoffs. It gives them better seating or whatever. So now with the playoff waiver situation, and this is for situations, they're calling it the Kyle Larson rule. And as you know, Kyle Larson is doing the double. Last year, he missed the Coke 600 because of a rain delay. They have promised that that's not going to happen this year. But in an instance where a driver does miss a race and needs to get a waiver for it, they then forfeit all of the playoff points that they had learned or earned up to that point, and then all of the playoff points that they could potentially earn throughout the rest of the season. So it's basically just to, like, defer them from ever missing a race. Besides for medical excuses. Medical reasons, birth of a child, family emergency, or age restriction, which happens in the Cup Series. There are sometimes they're like, hey, you're actually not old enough to, or not in the Cup Series, Truck Series. in the truck series, apparently.
Some
they're like,
random races, it's like, ah, shit, you're not old enough.
You're actually not old enough. Isn't that weird? I didn't know about that until someone was like, age restrictions, and I was like, what do you mean? Like, you're too old to drive? Or, no, but apparently.
Yeah, that'd be funny because the other, you're like, I don't know, buddy. 40?
You're 33? You want to drive?
You're cutting it a little close, don't you think? That's very strange. I didn't know that. Yeah, I guess that, I mean, it makes some sense in the way of like, oh, like they want all their drivers at all the races because they're trying to run their own fucking business here and they're not trying to like take into consideration IndyCar's needs because they have their own races to run. But I'm also like, if you're good enough that you can miss a race and not even have to worry about it,
that's
sorry. I think that's like if you built that kind of buffer into your game plan for the season, like I feel like you should be able to do it. I feel like that's kind of a flex. I don't know.
So I think that's the main point, that they don't want people like what we're seeing with like the NFL playoffs where they're like, okay, but Patrick Mahomes just sat out the most recent game because they're already like in the playoffs.
They're going to bench their starters.
We don't want Kyle Larson to be in the playoffs like 4 races early and then him just sit out because obviously they need the drivers to make money. I don't
hate it. I just like, I don't love it.
I think my issue is more so with, like, the fucking playoff points in general. So I'm like
okay.
This isn't my main issue with what's being implemented, but it's just like, I don't know. I guess it is what it is.
So what you're also saying, though, is that we were talking about it the other day. This means if there is any sort of delay to the Indy 500, Kyle is going to book it. He's gonna be like, I'm not fucking hanging around here. I gotta go to the 600.
They made that clear when they did their little McLaren Hendrick joint announcement where they're like, oh no, he's not gonna miss the Coke 600. We'll put, who is it they're putting in? Tony Kanaan is gonna be popped in the car at the Indy 500 if he gets his fucking license renewed.
Yeah.
Because that's the reason.
Me at the DMV. Hey, can I get my license renewed?
I gotta go to the Indy 500. Because that's the issue remember when they called in Teo, they had him fly across the universe to come in for Toronto? They were like, well, we were gonna put Tony in, but he didn't have his whatever renewed. And I was like, okay, maybe think about that a little bit earlier if you don't have a reserve driver. But okay.
They flew Teo across the universe. Thank God he had his license on him. Could you imagine he left his license at home?
Imagine. He had his license on him, but he didn't have a job, so bless his heart. What else we got? Oh they also made
Jinx
amendments to
buy me a Coke, Joey.
You're crazy. This is so crazy.
She's so
silly. They made adjustments to the damaged vehicle policy, which we had covered in a previous episode after like the whole Kansas situation.
I literally have it noted. If you are new to NASCAR and you don't know what we're talking about with the damaged vehicle policy, we previously talked about it on episode 3 of Laps Down.
I love that. It is changing.
Yeah, so you don't actually need to know about it.
Hey, go back and listen because we had a lot of opinions back then, and I'm sure they've completely changed now. Probably not, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But so damaged cars, the issue previously was if the cars needed to be towed after like a big one or after they get spun out, if they had to be towed back to the garage, they were like, you're done. You actually don't get to continue to go in the race. But
Thank you for that helpful clarification.
No more go. You don't get to go no more.
Lay off the go pedal. You're not going anymore.
No more go. But the issue with this is like if they weren't allowed, or if they weren't able to drive themselves back to the pits, so like they have like a blown tire or something, then they were being taken out of the race, even though they could technically fix it and compete. So they fixed that. Damaged cars can be towed to the garage and still return to the race. And then also they have the clock on pit road where you only get, I believe it's 7 or 8 minutes, depending on the track, to fix the car. And then if you don't fix it within that time, you get taken back to the garage and you don't get to go no more. But they've changed it where if you can't fix it in 7 or 8 minutes, in the pit road, you can go back to the garage, finish fixing the car, and then you can go.
So basically what you're saying is like, if you can go, you can go.
Yes. So, and yes.
Even if you go, say, like the namesake of this podcast, laps down, you still can go.
You can go. Anyone can go.
That's so, hey, don't give up. Never give up. That's the motto of NASCAR with this
NASCAR
damaged vehicle policy.
Famously is anyone can play. Anyone can go.
Never give up. Just go as hard as you can, you know what I mean? Give it your best shot. Go to garage and fix, and then go.
Yeah. They said, you know what, you got tools here. Why don't you just fix it? And then you can go.
Christ. So is that clear enough for everybody? Everybody on the same page?
Dude, what is this?
Just go. Just go already. Be on the road when somebody's driving 30 miles per hour in a 25 speed limit zone. Just go already.
Just go.
I'm trying to drive faster.
Oh,
anyway.
God.
What else we got? So that's
that on the damaged vehicle policy. And then we have the open exemption provisional, the OEP.
I love these names.
Beautiful name. Don't really
know what it means. I think I know what all of those words mean individually, but not together.
Like when you put them together, I'm like, why is provisional? It's none of my business. Whatever, NASCAR, pop off with your Google Doc. So it grants a guaranteed starting position. You good?
We use Google Doc. What the fuck you got against Google Doc?
We are not a national organization for stock car racing. We are just two girls with a podcast.
We're a nationally recognized premier podcast, voted by nobody best F1, IndyCar, and NASCAR podcast, hosted by people named MJ and Andrea. Jeez.
I forgot about that. I'm sorry. I haven't put the plaque up yet, so it's hard for me to remember.
Wait. Someday I want to get one of those YouTube play buttons. Like they have like in...
I think you can order, like just order one.
We have 60 subscribers. Do you think that's enough?
That's 60 more than we had before we started. We're biggest mover. We get the biggest mover award for getting 60.
That is so true. And as NASCAR would say, never give up. You know what I mean?
They would say, if you can go, go.
Anyways, back to the open provisional whatever.
The open exemption provisional. It grants a guaranteed starting position for, this is the quote from NASCAR, quote, world-class drivers who enter a NASCAR Cup Series race. Basically, and you have to apply for it.
Wait, is this the, like, we really want you to race because you're kind of a cool person rule?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. If you apply for it, I think it's like 90 days a team has to apply for it. It just guarantees that, like, they don't have to qualify for the race. They will just get to race. So, like, Helio Castroneves is a good example. Like, he is under the OEP. That is so fucking dumb. But so he'll be able to race at the Daytona 500 regardless of if he qualifies for it.
Wait, no, this is a really good good rule, because if we ever wanted to race and like we are like I'm sorry guys,
put us in a car.
Me and MJ had crazy caffeine and whatever. But like I was just thinking like, well, like if I want to race in the Daytona 500 after I've had like a long successful career as like a NASCAR podcaster, it'd be good to know that I could, as long as I have my license and that I didn't leave it at home and I'm
you have your driving gloves, you're fine.
Yeah, OEP.
You're OEP. But so this is if you're wondering about like how the points work, if the OEP were to win, then the person who got second would get the points for first place, and wherever they land, the person behind them is going to get the points. Basically.
So what if you are a cool person that gets this OEP, but you actually do qualify on your own merit? Can you get those points? Or is it like you're the OEP the whole time? You can't get the points.
Because you're not like racing continuous races in the Cup Series.
Like, it would be kind of fun.
You got the points. We can get you like one of those little like gold star things that said like, I did the Daytona 500 and got 23 points or whatever.
We could get him a YouTube play button. You just said we can order them.
Mr. Castroneves, here's your YouTube play button. Congrats on the 500.
Okay, good. I'm glad we cleared that
Okay.
up. I was worried. I didn't want him to leave feeling like he didn't get anything out of it.
I'm sure
Well,
he'll
he'll get a trophy.
Something.
Yeah, if you win the Daytona 500, I'm sure they got something in the back that they give you.
I think, yeah, I'm sure the Daytona 500 is something. Jeez Louise.
Yeah, they pull a trophy out the back, dust it off a little. Yeah, that'll do.
It's like an old golf trophy. It says like best putt. It'd be like, no, you putted your way to the top. You goed.
Yeah, never give up. Hey, never give up.
Never give up NASCAR. But wait, so
what are the rules?
This is going to be, I mean, the rules are just like, I don't know, race the car. But this is going to be a good thing for, like, we always talk about, like, why don't you just call up Checo? This would be an instance where you could get Checo on the track. Or Daniel Ricciardo, or Pano Award, or Andrea.
Hey, options open. You know what I mean?
Everybody
so
wants to see it.
I really want. We'll talk about Checo a little bit later on. I really want to see Checo race in Mexico. Yeah, believe it or not, this episode does take a twist in which Checo gets brought up again. I can't wait for you guys to see how we bring that in.
No, I would love for him to race. So that's
cool. What's the 100% rule? So
the 100% rule, I don't know if y'all remember Martinsville. I think it was Martinsville with the situation
where there was did nothing wrong.
Well, yes, that. And
okay.
There was a little bit of like possible alleged cheating for the like race manipulation for the engine manufacturers. Is this ringing a bell?
Oh, yeah. The engine manufacturers did something wrong, but not Christopher Bell.
No, I think he's innocent. But that's a hill that we can die on another time.
Yeah. Continue. I just wanted to clarify my stance on it. Pro Christopher.
So true. But the issue with that whole situation is they were like, well, we can't punish the engine manufacturers. Like, there's nothing in the rule book that says we can punish the engine manufacturers. Now they can.
Hey, good thing about having a rule book that you just make shit up. You can just make something else up.
That's their Google Doc. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So in an instance where they like deem there's some kind of manipulation from the engine manufacturers, they can lose manufacturer points. They can lose wind tunnel hours. They can lose CFD runs.
Period.
Which I had to Google because I was like, what is that?
Can you tell me what that is?
It is a computational.
Yeah.
It is a computational fluid. Right. But it stands for computational fluid dynamics, which I think is just aero. I think that it's just like an aero run. I don't know. Anyways, they can lose that. So now we can punish the engine manufacturers. So now there's going to be less race manipulation, which means Christopher Bell lost for nothing.
Potentially less fun. No, I'm just kidding. I don't really give a shit about the engine manufacturers getting their little points. So stop manipulating shit. Take that.
So
Got
true.
Him. So that was, I think, all of the NASCAR rules, but like they kind of like dropped these. I don't know when they. Obviously, this is like my first year as a NASCAR fan. I don't know when they normally do that sort of thing, but it did kind of seem like just like a random fucking Thursday or Friday. They were like, "What's up? We changed all the rules."
But that's how they did it with the practice and qualifying rules. So I think that's just like their vibe. Is they're just like, hey guys, we just been working on something. We're just gonna drop it now.
We're just
Stay tuned for Midnight at Friday.
Okay, so that was it for all of our news this week. We promised that we were going to talk about Formula E this week. And boy, did we have a good time watching Formula E. The best news is if you're listening to this and you're about to turn it off because you're like, I didn't watch Formula E. You actually could watch Formula E like right now. You can just like go on the Roku channel and turn it on.
It's free.
And like they have the replay of the race like just like on there. It's like free and super sick. So you should definitely probably do that. But we did start by watching the qualifying, which I have to say is one of the weirdest qualifying setups in motorsports. Probably ever. Who made that?
I don't know, but I love it.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
It's so good. it's incredibly entertaining, but I also think that's really how you figure out who deserves to be on pole.
So they yeah. It's like how you and I would make a qualifying, essentially. It's like, how do you decide who's the
really
best?
Good.
Yeah. Basically genius and the best qualifying method ever. They basically have two groups, and the two groups, they kind of fuck around for a little bit out there and put out some lap times. And then at the end, the four people that have the best lap times within that group A get to move on, and then the group B get to move on. From that, they set them up like bracket style. And it's like they do head-to-head duels with another driver to go all the way to like semis, quarter, and then like finals or whatever. So you have two drivers go up against each other and see who can put in the best lap time. And I think 1 lap, that's how long they have a go at it. It is insane. It seems like within the two groups, they try to put one driver from each team. So you won't
it's based off of times you didn't practice is how they do
really?
It. The same way in like Indy or NASCAR. I don't know. But that's how they do it.
So the way it ended up in the end, spoiler alert, is you had two people from the Tag Heuer Porsche team in the finals. So teammates going against each other to see who was going to be on pole. Whoever didn't get pole was going to get second. It was super interesting. They had these graphics that are like trying to display, I guess, like how good they're doing against each other on like different points of their laps. I don't really know if those are as helpful as, but you said you loved them, right? You like the graphics?
I like it because it's like I'm going to like draw it in the air, but you can show like in comparison, like where, and they like are constantly moving and stuff. So it gives you a better idea because you're not watching both cars at the same time. And they're the only two cars out on track.
They just kind of space them out so they're not in the same sector at the same time. So it's kind of showing you like, here's how this person's time looks through this sector of the track versus this person. Okay, so now we can see this person went way faster than this person in sector 1. So that means probably they're on a better lap. Whatever. It is very strange, but very cool. And it is kind of like, I guess if you like March Madness bracket style, like competition, that's what, fuck it. That's what you're going to get. If you like
a bracket, you're going to fucking love Formula E.
Formula E. Hey, if there's one thing Americans love, it's a bracket. So
it's a bracket.
So you guys are going to love Formula E. But basically, they do qualifying. I kind of feel like with Formula E qualifying, and this isn't necessarily the case, but like, it kind of feels like IndyCar or NASCAR qualifying where I go, that's cool. That doesn't, it'll be a different person that wins. Can I be honest? Like, it doesn't feel like getting pole is like the guarantee that it is in F1. Like in F1, somebody gets pole and you're like, I'm going to put my money on that person probably.
I think it's probably also because these aren't like engineering series as much as like F1 is. It's like the driver has to actually like drive the car. Like they have to go.
They got to do good.
Yeah. So,
I mean, that's kind of interesting. They have like these very intense strategy games with the attack modes that they can use. There's different ways of splitting up the 8 minutes of attack mode that you have. What we found out is, okay, so at the end of the race ish, like 5 or 6 laps to go, essentially, there was 2 safety cars. What we did not realize is that the attack mode timer continues to run throughout the safety car. So if you have initiated using your higher engine power and your 4-wheel drive, which is supposed to give you a better launch to like pass people, that timer is running throughout the safety car. So a bunch of people's strategies got super fucked. But in the end, it was a great race. The safety cars made it so that there was some interesting like restart action. There was one guy who I'm now a fan of, I guess, Ollie Rowland. What's up, buddy? I drive a Nissan too. I'm just like you. He had one of the coolest restart laps I have seen in motorsports. Like on a safety car restart, he passed like 3 people. Like a god, too. Like just
'cause
textbook.
He still had attack mode. It worked out for him.
Just
whereas the other cars around him were depleting, which was really cool. I really like the. What are your thoughts on attack mode?
I will say I don't 100% understand the strategy of it. It's kind of when I started watching ovals. I was like, I'm going to be honest. It's how I still am watching ovals. I don't always understand at 100% what's going on with the strategy, but I love the energy. You know? So
that's fair.
I think it's cool. It's like, I kind of think of it as like a Mario Kart power-up. Star mode. Go for it, kid.
Formula E has a lot of Mario Kart vibes, which I think is charming.
I love it. Some people were hating on Formula E because of the engine sounds. And I want to say, I used to be like that. I'm not going to lie. I used to watch Formula E on TikTok Live. For some reason, that was their strategy last year, is that they would just race on TikTok Live. I don't really know how that worked. But I would tune in sometimes, and I was like, like the sound of the car is like kind of weird. You get over it. It's really not a deterrent to stop you from watching it. It's never that deep, guys. Like, I love that you guys love, like, car sounds. This one, it's not that loud. They, like, turn it down on the TV broadcast. It's not that deep.
Oh. If you can't get over the sound to watch cars on track, then I think maybe you should maybe it's just not for you.
Yeah, fake fan. MJ just called you a fake fan. Take that.
Calling him a V10 fan the same way that they called us DTS fans.
Yeah. I'm
being like it's kind of giving V10 fan.
Yeah, he's just one of those V10 guys, you know. With love, of course, if you're in our comments and you're a V10 fan. Just give Formula E a try. The last thing I wanted to say about Formula E, though, is that me and MJ started to get a little clue into, like, just how motorsports in Mexico works. And now I'm, like, excited because, like, we saw some characters because the Formula E race was in Mexico. It's basically the same track that they use for the Formula 1 race in Mexico. It goes through the arena. Might I say, coolest place potentially to watch a race, in my opinion. The little arena that they drive through is so sick. Yeah. Like, I want to sit in there so bad.
It is cool.
It's
and
like,
you get to see, like, a huge chunk, too,
and
of
it's
the track.
Like, it's like a cool turn. Like, there's passing and stuff that was happening, like, in the arena. They're like, oh, the fans are going to love this. I'm like, I'm the fans. I want to be in that arena so bad.
I love it.
But they were racing there, and at the end, they had the trophy ceremony. And we saw Carlos Slim and Checo's dad were giving trophies at the trophy ceremony. I went, I know him.
I loved it. He was so excited too. He got to present one of the trophies and he did like a point to the audience and he was like going, like, woo. I was like, he's having a great time.
He's like a star, man. The crowd went crazy when they called his name. So I'm wondering, like, are we going to get a Checo's dad NASCAR trophy ceremony? Can I put a request in?
For Checo's dad NASCAR? He'll be there. Like, we're like for sure he's gonna have to be there.
Yeah.
You think?
Yeah. And I think that Max should go and, like, watch his brother-in-law race.
Oh,
and then we
Max
can have, like,
yeah,
and we could have, like, a Checo Max for all the, what is their ship name? Chestappen fans?
I've never heard.
What?
I've never heard that they had a ship name. No.
They won like an award for, like, best ship at, like, some, like, Mexico like fan award ceremony, and they, like, actually got a trophy for it. And there's, like, a video on the Red Bull socials of, like, them accepting, like, their Chestappen best ship award.
Is that's real? That's real thing? That's a real thing?
Yes.
I'm, like, shocked. Okay. I mean, pop off.
Are you not a Chestappen believer?
I didn't know it existed until about 35 seconds ago.
I'll be honest.
I believe, yeah, for sure.
I believe Chestappen more than I believe Lestappen.
Okay, let's chill with the Lestappen naysaying.
Okay, fair enough. I'll move on quickly before we get doxxed. But yeah, bet you guys didn't expect a Checo name drop in this episode. Got him.
No, which is why it would make so much sense for someone to OEP Checo. That's probably not, like, the verb of that, but to let him race it.
We should start OEPing people.
You should OEP him.
We can serve it like an arrest warrant. Like, we, like, Or like like you've been served, and it's like you've been OEP'd. And
you've been OEP'd. And then you're forced to run in the Daytona 500.
This is not a choice. You are not doing this willingly. You have been OEP'd.
You have been OEP'd. But
I'm gonna OEP Checo for Mexico. I'm gonna OEP Oscar Piastri in a couple of years. I think he could be a fun OEPer. For
where are you gonna OEP him for?
The
Roval. Yeah. I knew it was going.
Yeah, Oscar's getting OEP'd for the Roval, definitely. I don't know. OEP Logan Sargent for Homestead. Do a little hometown boy moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I got chills when you said that.
I don't know, Colton. Just know you're being OEP'd at some point. Just be aware. Be on the lookout for that OEP being served your way.
It's like when you're on jury duty and you have to like call in to be like, was I selected? You have to call in to see if you were OEP'd for some obscure NASCAR race. Be like, guess what? You're going to Kansas.
We could OEP Scotty Mack for maybe Chicago, and we could have like an SVG Scotty Mack moment.
Wow, that's a good idea.
I'm really good at this. Can I be in like the OEP department? Like I will OEP people all day. I'm so good at this.
My worst fear is now that we're like using this wrong. Like it's not actually called the OEP. No one's ever referred to it as that. Well, it is now, according to us.
Yeah,
apparently.
us. Yeah, we are OEPing. So yeah, now that we've given you guys the rundown on the NASCAR rules, the IndyCar news, the F1 news that I think is worth talking about, REP Mike Crack, I think this has been a successful ep. What do you think, MJ?
This has been so crazy. If you made it this far, shout out. I don't know how you did it.
Hey, if you made it this far, drop us 5 stars. This was a 5-star episode. My opinion.
According to me, I thought it was a 5-star episode. I haven't listened to it, but being here was fun.
Me and MJ are currently in the works of a video that is going to be dropped on YouTube next week. So keep an eye out for that. We're doing some YouTube exclusives, some things that we think are great that we wanted to talk about that didn't make it onto the docket of topics because of other news items taking priority. And we have a couple more episodes till the end of season 1. And then we're going to be doing a little kickoff for season 2 as NASCAR racing begins. So we're really excited. We have the Rolex 24 coming up. We're going to be seeing some of our friends and filming a vlog for that on our YouTube. So honestly, if you're not following us on YouTube, that is where it's going to be popping off the next couple months. We have so much planned over there. And if you're an audio listener, thank you for being an audio listener. I'm sorry you didn't get to see the hand drawing that MJ did of the Formula E graphic. That was super helpful. You guys surely missed out on something great there. And I think that's the end of our episode. Do you want to say what?
We're taking a break next week. Did you say that?
Is it next week?
Yes.
Nah, that's not next week.
Yes,
You're joking. You're joking.
No, it's the 19th. We're taking. I have it on my calendar right here.
Oh my god, we are taking a break next week.
Guys, we're taking a break. The Monster Jam discussion finally got to us, and we decided we needed a break from each other for 1 week.
Can we clarify? We were not actually beefing. I was actually concerned how many people think that was going to tear us apart. Like that Monster Jam thing was going to be too much.
I kind of felt bad after I posted it because I was like, guys, don't be mean to Andrea. Like, just tell her I want to go to.
Andrea's so missing out. I was like, guys, like, please, I like literally. We live in like many different states exist between us. We'd have to travel to either Iowa or Virginia to go to Monster Jam,
and we're going to.
Right. Fair. So yeah, we're taking a break next week, but we're gonna have the YouTube video. So that seems like a fair trade.
A trade-off.
And we're doing it because we have realized that we want to be all in on racing, and it kicks off and it doesn't stop.
Doesn't
Especially with like us doing NASCAR, IndyCar, and F1. This is basically the last opportunity we have to take a break before racing is back into full swing, which is why I love doing this podcast about many different motorsports. But it also was like me and MJ were like, we best do it now if we're going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So don't miss us too much, guys. Let's watch the video. Okay, now we're done. You're gonna look at me like I'm crazy. Okay, let's end the episode. Bye. Say bye, MJ.
Goodbye.